The spoilers for Beyond the Gates, airing on Wednesday, February 25th, focus on Jacob's secret mission, and everything takes a sharp turn when he unexpectedly runs into someone he knows. Meanwhile, Eva and Leslie clash fiercely over the clinic. At the same time, Ashley and Shanice look back on Ashley's work anniversary. The key points to remember are these. Jacob's secret assignment takes a dangerous turn when he collides with someone he never expected to see. Will Elon and Naomi be forced to face a devastating loss? Mother and daughter are locked in a bitter conflict over control of the free clinic. Ashley and Shanice reflect on a year marked by upheaval, growth, and second chances. Jacob enters the most dangerous phase of his mission with a feeling he can barely name, not quite confidence, but no longer fear like in the early days. It is the numb coldness of someone who has gone too far to turn back, but not far enough to reach the truth. He has passed the loyalty test, been allowed to join shipments involving the plasma ring, cut himself off from the home that once felt like the only place he could breathe in peace, and even turned his marriage into a blurred gray zone through broken messages sent from a burner phone. On the outside, everything looks like a plan working exactly as intended. But inside Jacob, every step forward feels like a new cost. He is not only trading away safety, he is trading away the right to be honest with the people he loves most. Naomi watches him leave without being allowed to know where he is going. She takes the phone like she is accepting a promise far too small to hold back the growing weight of her anxiety. And Jacob knows exactly what he is doing. Every time he sends Naomi a short message, he is also reminding himself that he is using love as a tool to keep his private life from collapsing completely while he walks deeper into the dark. The secret meetings with Smitty make Jacob feel like he still has some control. The brief check-ins, the intelligence passed along, the fragments that once seemed disconnected slowly forming a clearer pattern of the plasma network. All of it makes him believe he is getting closer to the center of the operation. But the closer he gets, the more he realizes this is not an ordinary criminal organization. It tests people with disturbing precision, not only through money or violence, but through patience, through moral trials that slowly strip away a person's sense of where their final boundary lies. The plasma ring shipment he is helping move may be a stepping stone to the mastermind, but it may also be a staged theater built to watch how he reacts when he is forced to do something irreversible. The most terrifying thing for Jacob is not being shot, arrested, or exposed. The most terrifying thing is the possibility that one day he will have to act with enough cruelty to protect his cover, and after that moment, he may no longer know whether he's a cop pretending to be a criminal or a man who has become something else entirely. Then the collision with his past happens at the moment he least expects it. Jacob is not prepared to see Isaiah there. The shock hits him so hard that all his instincts slow by half a beat, and in the underworld, half a beat can be enough to get you killed. He sees his brother like a piece of his old life suddenly appearing in a dark room where every gaze is suspicious and every gesture can be misread. Isaiah being there is too impossible to process. That impossibility terrifies Jacob even more than a gun. If Isaiah is there by accident, then his brother has stepped into a danger zone without understanding what he is standing on. If Isaiah is not there by accident, then everything is far worse. In that case, Jacob is not only facing the risk of his cover being blown, he is also facing the possibility that his brother is hiding another layer of secrets, a layer that could drag the entire Hawthorne family into disaster in a single night. A flood of questions explodes in Jacob's mind all at once, not like thoughts, but like cuts. How did Isaiah find this place? Who brought him there? Who is he looking for? Did he see Jacob earlier or did they just now cross paths? And most of all, does he know Jacob is undercover? Jacob knows his brother's eyes too well. Isaiah has a way of looking at people that makes it feel like he can see what they are trying to hide. If Jacob lies, Isaiah might stay silent in that moment, but his silence has never meant trust. It usually means he is stepping back to think. What leaves Jacob breathless is that he has no time to choose the perfect lie. Any crack in his reaction is enough for the people watching nearby to conclude that the two of them share a connection that should not exist. And if the plasma network already suspected Jacob, then Isaiah's appearance could be the final trap designed to force him to expose himself. That fear does not stop at the mission. It goes straight to Elon. Jacob does not need to see his father to know what will happen if the truth breaks open. Elon built his life on discipline, honor, and the belief that his family could bear the weight of the profession. But behind the hard shell of a father is an unspoken terror of losing a child. If Jacob is exposed, Elon will be forced into the cruelest possible choice: protect the investigation or rush in to save his son at any cost, even if it destroys the entire operation. If Isaiah is entangled too, the tragedy doubles. Jacob suddenly sees a vision that chills him to the bone, a night when Elon gets the news that both of his sons have gone missing. A night when every principle he lived by as a father and a leader becomes meaningless in the face of the raw panic of a man who may lose everything. Isaiah's appearance also stirs up another layer of conflict Jacob has been trying to ignore for years. Deep down, he has always carried the burden of proving himself, not just to his superiors, but to his own family. Isaiah was once the name people spoke with doubt, a man who drifted close to questionable choices. And Jacob quietly placed himself on the opposite side to preserve one clean pillar for the Hawthorne family. But now, at the very moment when Jacob is the one lying the most, hiding the most, disappearing the most, he is forced to confront a bitter truth. Hato has become a living secret. That is why the anger in him is not only directed at Isaiah. He is angry at himself for letting the mission push him into a position where he has to suspect his own brother, where he has to weigh whether to pull him into danger or shove him away with a cruel lie. It is the kind of choice that leaves a person defeated no matter what he chooses. While Jacob is stretched thin between mission and family, on another front Leslie is turning the free clinic into a battlefield painted in hypocrisy. After a terrible Valentine's Day, Leslie throws herself into the project as if it is the last chance to regain a sense of control. She talks about community, about helping people, about responsibility, but beneath all of that is a desperate need to be seen, to be acknowledged, to stand in the light again without hearing whispers of suspicion behind her back. Leslie does not just want the clinic to run well. She wants it to function as proof that she can still build something important, that she is not a woman slowly being pushed to the margins after one fracture after another. That is why every disagreement from Eva no longer feels like professional input to her. It feels like a challenge to her authority, a reminder that even her own daughter does not truly believe in her ability. Eva sees the clinic in a completely different way. To her, it is a place where real people will walk in carrying illness, desperation, and fragile hope, not a stage for someone to construct an image. What Eva learned from managing her father's clinic allows her to spot the flaws in Leslie's leadership immediately. From misplaced priorities to an approach that feels more performative than practical. But their conflict has never been only about professional judgment. Every time Eva pushes back, there is an old wound beneath her reasoning. Memories of a mother who always needed to be at the center and who always treated her daughter's resistance as a personal insult. Eva is angry not only because Leslie is wrong. Eva is angry because Leslie is repeating the same controlling pattern that once made her grow up feeling she was only allowed to be useful if she stayed quiet. Leslie, meanwhile, feels more exposed with every sharp analysis Eva offers. She cannot stand hearing Eva be right, because admitting it would mean admitting that she is using a charity project to repair her own reputation more than to save anyone. That is why the conflict between mother and daughter becomes more toxic than any public argument. It does not explode once and burn out. It leaks into every small decision, every look, every long silence after each disagreement. The harder Leslie tries to teach Eva about the real world and how business works, the more Eva feels her mother is trying to turn medicine into a brand. Eva begins to question not only Leslie's motives but also the people and interests connected to the project. wondering whether something shady is hidden in the way Leslie is gathering resources and assigning staff. That suspicion makes Eva harsher, and Eva's harshness triggers Leslie's oldest instinct: attack before she can be accused. A clinic that should have been a place of healing starts to feel like an old house full of unresolved pain, where two women are both determined to prove they are right. But neither one is willing to look directly at the hurt the other carries. Derek steps into that same environment carrying a different kind of internal war. After the accident and the period of temporary paralysis, he did not just lose a job. He lost the image of himself that he once clung to in order to survive. He used to run into fire, used to be seen through the eyes of others as a hero, and now he is forced to face long days where every choice feels diminished. Jen still sees his instinct to save people and believes the free clinic could give him a new path. Rationally, the offer is a chance. It gives Derek purpose, a place to belong, a way to use what remains of him. But emotionally, it feels like a declaration that the firefighter version of his life is over. Derek hates Leslie, but even stronger than that is his fear of being seen as someone forced to settle for a second-best life. Derek's stubbornness is therefore only the outer shell of a much deeper pain. He does not want to accept work at the clinic if, in his own mind, he still sees it as a lesser version of himself. He also does not want to feel grateful to Jen in a way that makes him feel as if he is being dragged through a stage of life he has not finished grieving. Jen thinks she is helping him stand again, but Derek sometimes feels like she is pushing him into a crowded room before he has learned how to walk with the dignity he lost. Every time someone mentions this new role, he remembers the hospital bed, the helplessness of a body that betrayed him, the pitying looks he hated more than the pain itself. If he says yes, he must accept that his life will never return to what it was. If he says no, he will keep drifting in anger with nowhere to place it. It is the kind of quiet dead end that wears a person down faster than any physical wound ever could. At the hospital, Ashley and Shannis look back on a year of working together in a mood that seems light on the surface, but is layered with meaning. They remember the early disagreements, the clashes of ego and style, the days when each of them thought the other was a burden. Then they remember the moments when they had no choice but to rely on each other in chaos, especially the time they worked with Andre to deliver a baby in an elevator, when skill, instinct, and fear collided in a cramped space. It is the kind of memory that can make them laugh at how absurd it was, but it is also the kind that reminds them the hospital has never been just a workplace. It is a place where any ordinary day can spiral into an event that changes lives. Ashley grew up inside that rhythm, but her growth was never gentle. Every one-year milestone is not just an anniversary. It is a moment to face everything she has lost, endured, and ignored in order to keep standing. What makes Ashley and Shannis's reflections feel heavy is that they cannot be separated from the darker events that unfolded in the hospital. Leslie once tried to kill Laura. Ted and Carton nearly collided like two live explosives waiting for a spark. Derek has been rushed into emergency care more than once, and at one point it felt as though his life had broken for good. Then there are the tangled relationships among Ted, Shannis, Ashley, and Grayson that leave every hospital hallway carrying the echo of hidden truths. When Ashley and Shannis look back on the year, they are not only remembering work. They are unconsciously reviewing a chain of events that, if arranged the right way, suggests something more frightening than accidents or isolated conflicts. Too many disasters happened around the same group of people. Too many supposedly random clashes seem connected by threads too fine to see. The feeling makes their laughter fade quickly, replaced by an uneasy silence, as if both of them just touched the same thought but neither is ready to say it aloud. This is the point where the atmosphere of every storyline begins to overlap. Leslie's clinic is no longer a separate project. It touches Derek, it touches Jen, it touches Eva, and indirectly it touches the hospital where Ashley and Shannis work. At the same time, Jacob is tracing the plasma network, a network that may be slipping through cracks in the medical system, through the desperation of patients. through people who appear to stand on the side of healing. If even one link connects the clinic, the hospital, and the plasma ring, then all the current personal conflicts will stop being just family drama or workplace tension. They will become smoke hiding something much larger. And the most frightening part is that every character is so busy fighting private pain that none of them can fully see they may already be moving across the same board. Naomi is the one who feels the coming fracture most clearly, even without knowing enough. Jacob disappears for longer stretches, sends fewer messages, offers shorter explanations, and the distance between them is no longer just physical. Naomi tries to trust him because she understands the nature of his work, but trust is not infinite when the person you love keeps turning into a shadow. She starts wavering between two extremes, the desire to respect Jacob's mission and the growing anger of being shut out of the truth. For Naomi, betrayal is not always an affair or a malicious lie. Sometimes betrayal is forcing someone to love you in the dark, forcing them to accept risk without giving them the right to choose. If Jacob keeps disappearing longer and longer, Naomi will reach the point where waiting quietly is no longer possible. And once Naomi begins looking for answers herself, she may accidentally reach the very thing Jacob is risking his life to keep away from her. At this point, Isaiah becomes the most unpredictable pressure point of all. If he is truly there by accident, Jacob has to decide immediately between protecting his cover and protecting his brother. If he is not there by accident, every option becomes more brutal. Jacob may be forced to use what he knows about Isaiah to manipulate him, to push him away with coldness, or worse, to pull him in as part of a plan to keep the network from suspecting anything. But doing that would turn their brotherhood into a tool. On the other hand, if Isaiah realizes Jacob is lying and quietly decides to follow him, he may be the only person who can pull Jacob out when the trap finally closes and no one from the team can reach him. That paradox nearly drives Jacob insane. The brother who may be his greatest danger may also be the only one who can save him. Elsewhere in the city, Leslie keeps forcing the clinic to run at the speed of her ambition. Eva keeps fighting back with expertise and old wounds. Derek stands before a decision that could either save him from emptiness or make him hate himself even more. And Ashley and Shanice keep revisiting old memories, each memory dragging another unanswered question behind it. All of them are angry, but their anger is not the same. Jacob is angry because he has to choose between duty and blood. Eva is angry because truth keeps getting bent by adult ego. Leslie is angry because she is being seen too clearly while trying to rebuild her image. Derek is angry because a new life is arriving too soon, before he has buried the old one. Naomi is angry because she is being loved in a way that demands blindness. Ashley and Shanice carry a slower, quieter anger, the kind that grows from endless chaos in a place where they have spent a year serving people, saving lives, and watching people wound each other. And over everything hangs the sense that a tightening circle is closing in. Jacob may be getting closer to the truth, but he may also be walking into the final trap through the very steps he believes are progress. Leslie may think the clinic will restore her reputation, but it may be the place where all her darker motives are exposed. Derek may think he is simply choosing a job, but in truth he is choosing who he will become after losing the identity he once lived by. Ashley and Shanice may believe they are only reminiscing, but the more they remember, the more they brush against the possibility that a year of upheaval was not entirely coincidence. Once these pieces begin colliding, no one will be able to remain in a safe position. That night, the most frightening question is not who is lying, but who will be forced to tell the truth first. If Jacob is pushed to the edge, he may complete the mission and lose his family, or protect his family and watch the entire investigation collapse. If Elon is dragged in, he may lose both sons, not in an open battle, but in a chain of secrets each of them believed they were keeping to protect the others. In this world, tragedy rarely begins with a gunshot. It usually begins with a decision made in silence, in anger, in wounded pride, in a fear too deep to name. And everyone in Fairmont Crest is standing directly in front of that kind of decision now.